Today, we'll hear from Detective Inspector David Hillman from the OPP Criminal Investigation Branch, as well Essex County OPP Detachment Commander, Inspector Glenn Miller, and Gloria Galbraith, sister-in-law to Nancy. Upon completion of our comments from the podium speakers, there will be an opportunity for some questions and answers. We'll also afford you one-on-one interviews at the completion of the conference. It's my privilege to introduce to you now Detective Inspector David Hillman from the OPP Criminal Investigation Branch. Sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, family, and friends of Nancy Galbraith Quick. I'm Detective Inspector David Hillman, and I'm thankful for your attendance here today. On Thursday, February 23rd, 2006, Nancy Galbraith Quick, along with her two young children, aged 11 and 9 respectively, left their home in Tecumseh, Ontario at approximately 8:20 a.m. Nancy dropped her children off at a local elementary school in Tecumseh and continued on to her place of employment where she worked as an educational assistant. Nancy arrived at the St. William Elementary School in Emeryville between 8:35 a.m. and 8:40 a.m. She parked her car in her usual parking spot located near the church. She exited her vehicle and began walking towards the sidewalk across the intersection. Nancy turned around and began walking back to her car, and at this point, a minivan, which had been observed by witnesses stationary in the church parking lot, accelerated quickly and drove directly at Nancy, striking her with the front of the van. This same vehicle had been reported stolen only moments earlier. The vehicle continued on after striking Nancy and did not stop to offer any assistance whatsoever, nor did the driver make any attempt to slow down as it left the scene. The suspect vehicle continued north on Emery Drive and failed to stop at the intersection of County Road 22 before heading westbound back towards Tecumseh. This vehicle was later recovered a distance away on I.C. Roy Drive. It's approximately 1.5 kilometers from the collision site. Witnesses observed a lone male exiting the driver's side door of the van, and he walked away quickly from the vehicle. Nancy was rushed to the Hotel Dieu Hospital here in Windsor with critical injuries and was immediately transferred to the receiving hospital in Detroit, Michigan. She succumbed to her injuries 5 days later on February 28th. Nancy Galbraith Quick was 40 years of age at the time. A criminal investigation began immediately and has been ongoing since 2006. Yesterday, March 11th, 2015, at approximately 3:06 p.m., 48-year-old Scott Douglas Quick of Brighton, Ontario, the estranged spouse of Nancy Galbraith Quick, was arrested and charged for first-degree murder. He was arrested without incident in Belleville, Ontario, and he was returned to the Essex County OPP Detachment last night. He will appear in Ontario Court Provincial Division in Windsor, courtroom number 7 today, prior to 1 p.m. And he will be formally arraigned on the charge of first-degree murder at that time. I'd like to take this time to thank the Quick and the Galbraith families for their ongoing support and patience over these very difficult years. I truly appreciate all the support that you've offered our investigators. Additionally, I would like to thank you, the media, in particular those located in Essex County, for your ongoing support over the years and helping keep this case in the foreground for the last 9 years. I'm sure you will have more questions today than I will be able to answer, as there is much I can't comment on now that it is before the courts. I would also be remiss not to mention the dedicated work of the officers involved in this case since 2006, and there has been many. As I previously mentioned last year, the OPP does not close its cases on homicides. We will exhaust all leads until these cases are solved. This case has no happy ending. 2 children lost their mother to a tragic and violent set of circumstances in 2006, and these same 2 children are now faced with the fact that their father is accused of committing that violent act against their mother. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Detective Inspector Hillman. It's also my privilege to introduce to you Inspector Glenn Miller, Detachment Commander for the Essex County OPP. Inspector Miller.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Essex County OPP for today's news conference. My name is Inspector Glenn Miller, and I'm the Detachment Commander of Essex County OPP. I would like to begin with my most sincere and heartfelt sympathy and condolence to the Galbraith and Cook families who are deeply affected by today's public announcement. In the hours, days, and months ahead, I ask everyone to please respect their privacy and allow them this time to find closure during these unbearable circumstances. The OPP sympathizes with families and friends of victims of these crimes. Resolution and closure are important. Today is the beginning of that time for both families. The work of the investigators in this case has been tireless, and we are pleased today to be able to bring this investigation to fruition. This has been a lengthy investigation spanning over 9 years. I can only now begin to imagine the immeasurable effect that it has had on those directly involved and the citizens of Essex County, who found it hard to understand why an innocent person could be murdered in this manner and left to die. I am pleased that today the person responsible for the crime is before the courts, and he will have to answer for his actions. On behalf of West Region OPP Chief Superintendent John Kane, I would like to commend Detective Inspector David Hillman, his investigative team, and the numerous officers of Essex County OPP who have worked tirelessly over the years to find the suspect responsible for this murder. The fact that a young woman's life was taken from her family has always remained in the minds of all officers involved throughout this exhaustive and lengthy investigation. I would like to thank everyone who has taken the time this morning to join with us for this announcement.
Thank you, Inspector Miller. It's my distinct privilege to introduce to you Mrs. Gloria Galbraith. She's sister-in-law of Nancy Galbraith Quick. Mrs. Galbraith is also accompanied today by Mr. Jerry and Darlene Galbraith, and we welcome her here to say a few words.
Today is not a day for feeling good. Today is a day that the Galbraith family hoped would come. But it brings with it feelings of great sadness and of continuing deep pain and sorrow, as over 9 years ago, a beautiful, loving, caring daughter, sister, friend was tragically taken from our lives. Our thoughts are with Nancy's 2 children, now beautiful and vibrant young adults whose world were torn apart 9 years ago, and with today's events, whose lives are in turmoil and deep pain. We want them to know how much they are loved and cherished. We want them to know that we support them with all of our hearts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Galbraith. Well, this concludes our official prepared statements. A copy of the media release we have posted to the OPP media portal will be made available at this time by Constable Stephanie Moniz. Should you need services in French language, we can also make that available to you. We'd like to afford you the opportunity to ask some questions. I must preface this statement by saying that because the investigation is now before the courts, there may be more questions than we have answers at this time. We'll definitely not be able to effectively answer questions that make reference to evidentiary issues, as it would be inappropriate to do so. So if you have questions, please indicate who you are, what agency you represent, so that we can address your question. We'll open the floor at this point.
I'm Teresina Medeiros with AM 800. I have to ask the question, but what was the new evidence that sparked the arrest yesterday? Is there anything you can say about that?
No, I can't comment on any evidence, obviously, if it's evidentiary, and to do so would be inappropriate, and we certainly don't want to taint anything in the justice process by releasing information that could be, we don't want new evidence out there into the media and having people, we want true versions of people's statements. We don't want people to read something and believe that's true for them. So we keep all that stuff aside.
Is there a sense of relief by police to finally get an arrest in this case? To a certain level, is there a sense of relief?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been 9 years, and it's been a fairly complex investigation. So it's always it's bittersweet in many respects, but it's nice to finally have some closure, certainly for the family.
He was arrested. He didn't turn himself in, right?
Pardon me?
He was arrested, he didn't turn himself in?
No, he was arrested yesterday.
Did revisiting that cold case last June help in perpetuate the arrest?
When the reward poster was put out?
Yeah.
The reward poster didn't add to any new evidence. It kept it in the spotlight, obviously, which is good, but I would say that it didn't add to why we're here today.
Was he always considered a suspect?
I'd say as a person of interest from the onset.
Mhm.
He certainly later became a suspect, but from the very beginning, I'd say he was a person of interest.
When he was he arrested at his residence there, or was he out in the public?
He was arrested at a business in Belleville.
Do
What
his
was-
two children live there as well too now?
No, well, I'm not going to comment on the kids where they live, so.
Any message to the public about this? This is a high-profile case. Anybody who says Nancy Quick knows immediately who that is and where that came from. Is there a message to the public when it comes to something like this, that after 9 years,
Well, again, and I think I mentioned it when the reward poster went out last year, the OPP and in most respects all police agencies, we don't stop investigating even though people think, you know, time stops cases. We have cases that are 40 years old that we're still working on. You know, some cases may become inactive, some cases may slow down, but we don't close these cases. I mean, at any given time, pieces of evidence can come up where we would reactivate these cases just as if they happened today.